Does it work? It seems to work. So anyway, oof. Oof, I forgot to open that thing. What's the shots? So can somebody open the shot for me? Thank you. Yeah. What what? Okay, okay, it's working. We are not so over. Anyway, uh, you're hearing this? Why are you hearing it? Skip whenever I'm back. I will be leaving for like 3 minutes or so. So yeah. Mostly, I should type it down on chat and pin it. Uh, just going to see if it doesn't lag. Internet is acting weirdly, so I wanna try to understand what's going on with that. Anyway, uh, anything else? No, no, not really. So yeah, I'll be back. I will go get some water. No, 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 we're dropping frames already. Why? We're up 46 frames. Not that much, but it's still something. Why? Why is it not working properly? Can I leave? Do I have to live in fear of my internet not working for some random reason? Anyway, uh, that's such is life. We are dropping more. 56. No, I beg you, don't. Anyway, uh, I am living with 56. I'll be back and we will see how many more numbers test. I, I should I should have tested how it sounds. Anyway, what's up? Also, no. Uh, thankfully I didn't change the other title, so let me change it now. Uh, Today, what are we doing today? Internet, dead internet theory. Also, I should change the other thing to properties. Can you delete this thing? It's going to go back to what it was before. Okay, let me see. Is it is it back? Yeah. Okay. We have basically everything. We are like in home anyway. I should have probably tried to set up a little bit more stuff. Probably. Would that have changed anything? Nice question. Anyway, no idea, man. Absolutely no idea. Uh, Here we are. That's all I can say. With some degree of certainty, I guess. After such a long time, we are back. It also has been such a long time since I said that. Wow, I forgot that it was my main intro line. And also, yeah, I shouldn't. I have stuff that I should have done. I didn't do it. Doesn't matter. Procrastination is fine. No, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. But you know what? Everybody fails a little bit. What is to be a human if not to recognize that we have some failures here and there and still accept that we have the right to keep on living despite having all of those things that make us as imperfect as we are? Because perfection isn't beautiful only in those tiny moments in which everything seems just the way it is. It's that we find it to be good. The perfect is not the beautiful thing, but the broken is what we define as nice looking, I guess. Anyway, anyway, what the fuck am I doing? No idea. Uh, today, today, on this, what is it? It has a proper name. I could talk out proper concepts and whatnot. I have still something funny. I love. Let me start with this. I love something that is. I get to learn concepts. I get to learn about stuff without ever in my whole life touching some books. I should have read so much more than what I have right now to be capable of talking out some things. And I have certainly not done that. I have been having multiple discussions already at this point with a professor about this stuff because he seems reluctant to teach me about things. Certainly because they are partially like very advanced things, so it's annoying to have to talk about them with someone who needs to be talked to like they were a little children, or else they will not have enough symbolic capital to understand what you're trying to talk about. But it still keeps being a forest. I haven't given up on that guy is going to explain shit to me. One of the few negative points out going to being a professor at a free school is that you have to deal with people like me who doesn't understand that, yeah, uh, maybe it's not time to ask these fucking questions, brother. But anyway, who are we to decide that? What matters? Why does it matter? I haven't also completely different note. I haven't dehydrated, feeling completely dehydrated. I don't know why. Probably because I am. I mean, wow. Incredible conclusion. I feel like I need to drink water. Why? Because I need to. It's certainly completely true. But anyway, stuff. Life. Life happens. What the fuck happened yesterday? Why didn't I didn't stream yesterday? There were some other celebrations. There were more interesting things. Yeah, it was the what is it the review. I missed the review itself. I'm fucking hate it. But yeah, the Charles, that guy, the guy who I play Gurp. How do you say it? Curp. That thing. Gurps. That guy. The guy who game masters that stuff. He had a review. It was so amazing. Yeah. So yeah, that's my proper excuse for why we weren't here yesterday. Today we suddenly have to be here. I think yeah. It's if nothing else, it's good to be capable of realizing, yeah, I have the possibility of being here. Why not try to be here? You know, something funny about being alive is you have many opportunities to do stuff that you like or you say you like. So, what about actually doing them? You know. So yeah, instead of saying, you know what, today, unlike every other single day of my life, today I will rest early. I can't do that. So yeah, you know what? Here we are. It's better to be late than to never be, I guess. Being late, even if it is in the last place, is being compared to not doing anything. So, in that sense, it's good. It certainly is not the first position and whatever you wanna say, but it's something. So nice. We can take that, I guess. Anyway, something that I might be missing? Yeah, many things. But moving on today, why have we all gathered here? What are we trying to discuss? What's goal? What are we trying to bring up? What is the idea, the concept, the topic? Great question. I had been thinking. It has been a wonderful 2 days, three, four, a whole life of thinking. Uh, but yeah, stuff has been processed. It's very funny to see that it happens in that sense. Having time to process stuff is always useful. And having even more time to be capable of trying to make it understandable for everyone else is even better. On some hand, also, it doesn't stop being an excuse to not do it, let's say, in terms of to not act many ways, even if you are in that sense, it's different from what I talked about failure before. Even if you are struggling, you can still perform in many ways. It's not the same type of failure, the one that you suffer or that you believe you are suffering when you are performing for the sake of being capable of trying to do something. Eh, and when you are exerting your capacity to do something. And even if the narratives feel to some degree overwhelming or whatever, you can still try stuff and you can still be interested in doing things. So yeah, we end up with things like this one. It's better to hear today instead of in 5 weeks when I feel like I have anything properly articulated. At the end of the day, it's all the same thing. It's it's just an excuse, anyways. It's that's the funny thing. It's everything to some degree is an excuse. I don't know. I haven't processing stuff. Something funny is I have yet to define a proper way to understand how motivation works. It has been a great discussion lately to see how we have moved from, let's say, a more proper perspective on what is having an interest on anything onto this. I think, yeah, psychology is still pretty much a philosophical derivate more than anything else. It's complicated to be capable of talking about. Oh yeah, what? Why do we wish the things that we wish, and how is it that we believe we wish them, and which reasons do we have to justify wishing for the stuff that we do? In the sense of wow, nowadays any grown up person isn't really motivated by what they wish, but rather by the desires that they have been implanted, that they have received from the outside. And even if they believe that the things that they have articulated through themselves are expressions of their own selfness, there is some degree of still external influence playing on them. So it's funny to try and see that, yeah, it's not so understandable what makes anybody act in any way. It's a sort of a complex issue, I will say it like that. Not true issue in terms of, oh wow, needs to know why people do anything, but rather in terms of how can I be sure that I understand the things that I do about how people act in terms of am I truly getting what is making anybody do anything? I am not. Something wonderful is I have the excuse of, oh wow, yeah, everything that I believe I want to do might be as well implanted, or not implanted, presented from previous generations, and I decided to take it, either in a favorable integration of myself or in a disfavorable complete disfavorable, how do you say it, whatever, in a complete opposition to what was presented to me in order to be capable of avoiding what is it that was given to me as a possibility. I cannot really move myself in a direction in which I do not interact with the things that were shown to me in the past. The issue is how I will do that, but at the same time, okay, that's me. And those are still things that I have inherited. Next question. Isn't that the same thing for everyone else? Next question. Isn't that the same thing for every single human being that has ever existed? How do we know that it is wrong to have desires of that sort? I mean, if that is how we function, that's just how we exist. We cannot really change how we are just because, oh, wow, yeah, we have an ancient lineage of people telling us what we like and what we want to do and what is it that we find interesting in life and what is it that we are supposedly capable of doing or yeah, interested in trying to achieve and all of that. I mean, every single human being works in the same way, so is that truly bad? I don't know. If I am implying, if I am incapable of deciding by myself anything completely new, why following anything else that has been presented to me should then be considered something bad? In, I would obviously say that at that point it appears as an obvious excuse, I guess. There might be people capable of creating the tiered way, the so desired tiered way of, oh wow, yeah, this person is so clever, they can design a new future completely different from the perspective of anyone else. Those are the geniuses. I don't know, man. I think in many ways, what we have also started to learn from life is there are no real, completely miraculous geniuses. Anyone who is capable of understanding things to any degree to which it makes them look like a genius to other people, only were capable of doing that because they decided to stick to learning any kind of field to a degree to which they were capable of mastering it even more than what the average person of that field, what the average expert of that field was capable of achieving. And even in some cases, it isn't even necessary to be an overachiever in any way, but rather just very good at one specific task instead of that one field. So I don't know. I don't buy that whole story of there were just geniuses that designed stuff before. I don't know. All I can say at the very least is we might be capable of having a different future if somewhere down the line some future what is it, offspring of ours is capable of figuring out something different, but even then there are still many things to, there are many instead of that same postulate of what we are given is what the whole world is capable of showing us. There are many things that still need to be done in terms of, I would argue, necessary things. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's that much of a revolutionary saying to just possibly say, or what is it? Or just insinuate, maybe, that we could try to do better in certain aspects of life, not even specifying which ones. Just we could try to be better human beings overall. Let's say it like that. Wow, is that something bad? I don't think so, but many people might disagree. Also, I don't know. Something funny on that same line. I don't like it. I have an judgment is very useful when you can exert it on yourself and realize in many ways I am not really moving anywhere. I am just justifying everything else by making them look like they are the responsible for my decisions. When in reality, is it that much of an impossibility for me to accomplish things? Am I not truly capable of doing what I want in many days, in many occasions throughout the day itself? Am I not the person that I get to be because I got to choose so many things that I wanted to pick previously? I truly want to relinquish what has been my whole history just to make somebody else look like the villain in my own life. I don't think that's useful in any way, but I don't know. In many ways, I guess it's just we do not truly have the capacity to pick what we truly want. There is always this illusion of, not an illusion, we just, let me say it like this, we probably don't even have the capacity to properly grasp what is this dimension of time. So sometimes we forget that we can't choose everything because there is no infinite time to do everything. So we choose the thing that we wanted the most in the moment, believing that we will also have access to the next thing that will be available just for a limited period of time, while forgetting that, yeah, indeed, that one thing that is limited will pretty soon remove itself from our lives. So we get to lose many of the things that we actually wanted the most, but that will also have required more effort than other similar things just because we overvalue things in general. Uh, it's complicated also to follow the idea itself because it's literally just talking about anything at all. Any kind of decision in that way gets sadly the same weight. We do not need to specify in any field any single human being has experienced something of that sort. The issue is also such an overgeneralization makes it look like it doesn't happen. Sadly, it is the reality. I believe, I judge and I say from my own singularity. So yeah, who knows? Who truly knows? It's better, at least, if it were to be something that I that's something wonderful. If it were to be something interesting that was being said, why not just assume that it might be wrong? Nothing is absolute. So what about assuming that it could be wrong? So yeah, basically that, I guess. Also, wow, I wasn't expecting to feel so incredibly tired. I think it's. I have already mentioned that before. I, whenever I get to go live, there is this extra degree of calmness that happens. Why? No idea. Absolutely no idea. Probably related to something along the lines of, oh yeah, I get to literally speak something that I rarely do in any other context. So yeah, wonderful. What a wonderful fucking tool. To be outspoken and to say the things that you have inside of you, to not live a life of complete silence. So yeah, it becomes a very, not just therapeutic process, but also a very liberating one, I guess. At the same time, it's just the same thing of every single day. There is this level of issue of I might be saying the same thing that I did every other stream. So that's a possibility that we have to deal with. That's that. Anyway, we have already been here for half an hour. So can I shut the fuck up for a second and focus on the list? I had a list. Today I have a list. I remembered writing stuff down this time around. Also, I should update the numbers that I am seeing because we are not on the 378 stream. How long have I been fucking muted? How long? Good question. No idea. Does it matter? Probably. I mean, incredibly tilting. Wow. How long? Oh my god. I can't check, right? I don't have that possibility right now. Fucking god. Since when was I anyway, doesn't matter. I didn't say anything of substance anyway. We we suffer less if we assume that. So yeah, uh, whatever. I was literally just saying, wow, I have a list of things that I should try to follow, and yeah, here we have it. The topics of today. What's the point of today? Why are we? Oh dear Dear brothers and sisters, why have we all of us gathered here in, in this ceremony to discuss these sacred topics? No, sorry. Anyway, the topics, what are they? Yeah, unavoidably to some degree, I have to mention that stuff always, but also probably I was muted, so maybe, maybe nothing of that was shared. So maybe we are good. The first one is that and actions of importance. I had been thinking. I watched something very recently, and it made me remember something very interesting. Not that I had exactly forgotten about it, but it gave it a new signification in a certain way. There is always something that I hate in this saying of um, live every single day like it is the last one. And I don't like the way in which it is used in most contexts because it is just uh, an excuse to justify self-destructive behavior. I do not find it a nice expression. Not because it isn't a nice expression by itself. It could very much allow for a lot of better outcomes if we were to properly frame it into anything, I guess. But does not happen. I do not see that happening, at least in my life. I do not. The people that I find that say stuff of that sort do not actually believe in in their fragility in that sense. They just justify damaging themselves, damaging others, being not. It's better when you say bad. When you make the other person the problem, it's so much wonderful, but the reality is just sad people. Incredibly empty and shallow human beings who have almost nothing of substance going on. That sort of existence that gets justified by, oh yeah, tomorrow I might die. That's the sort of existence that I do not like. That's the sort of existence that I see the most behind that phrase. I supposedly I know about people who uses it correctly. I have met zero of those in real life. I don't know. Maybe one in a million people uses it correctly. Every single one else that says stuff along those lines of life is pretty short. Live every single day like it is your last one. Do not use it in the way in which you don't fucking self-destruct, basically, or in which you don't make yourself miserable. All of that stuff is such a vexing idea, and I remember the point was I saw yesterday, the day before yesterday, I don't remember when, something. When one guy was talking about the process of dual mourning, going through accepting that somebody has died in your life, even more when it happens out of nowhere. That's something that I always consider funny. We shall not we shall not we shall not assume that death is something that has a particular date of arrival. It should be the constant thing that we can embrace it as a constant, as an always existing possibility, but at the same time, to some degree, it is better to live without death in the picture because putting it there makes life itself so much more unenjoyable in many ways that it's just less miserable to assume that, yeah, we are not going to suffer or to feel any sort of despair if we assume that we might one day die. Supposedly, that's the issue. In reality, it happens like that. That whenever you least expect it, you might find yourself having lost something that you truly appreciate. Not on a higher level. If it isn't just that, it's non-existence of things that makes the human suffer so much. Not just knowing that you might lose somebody that you appreciate, but also that you might lose something that you truly find precious of any kind of sort. An object itself, and it's not just a problem in the way in which it happens normally. The issue is this was, as I said before, this was being contextualized into, yeah, you should live life relative to those things that you like, assuming that it is the last day that you are going to enjoy with them. And on one hand, I like the proposed idea, but at the same time, I wouldn't enjoy my last day alive being productive in any way. I will not enjoy it. I will not go through my last day alive being the human being who did the most for humanity in any way. I will not try to do that. I will probably literally spend all of the time that I have in that day enjoying it with the things that I know that I like, with the people that I appreciate, with all of those things, not in any other manner. It's not a question of, oh wow, yeah, I will to make it just better. It's forgetting that we are incredibly prone to being self-absorbed, and whenever we get the possibility, excuses arise out of everything. It's a wonderful thing, even to see how much we like to think about the world and make everything else an issue. There is no there is no true problem with what we are ourselves in many occasions because we cannot perceive ourselves as issues. We do not need to see ourselves as problems in our own lives. It's not a necessity to do that, nor even a part of the human experience, the postulate of, yeah, now you will need to shut yourself and make yourself appear as a sort of negative influence in your own life. It does not happen, and it does not work in that way. And I don't know, it's not something completely troublesome to some degree, but on the other hand, it truly just feels like we can't really get to mention any of those things. We do not have the possibility of properly understanding what is to lose something. It's it's funny. Words are very funny in that sense. We can all say, "Oh yeah, you can only appreciate something the moment in which you lose it." Yeah, I mean, I can say it. Everyone else can say it. Active exercise. Please repeat after me. You can only appreciate something after you. Wow, so clever. No, reality is the moment in which you have to experience a part of you that isn't yourself leaving your side. You know, feel the emptiness that is to have no more that one extra piece of you that was within the object of your appreciation, desire, however you wanna say it. It's complicated to live with the losses that we experience in life, and at the same time, we cannot really say, "Oh yeah, yeah," and because of that, then we should try to do our best to live life next to those things that we like so much, like it is the very last moments that we get to enjoy with them and nothing else. I do not see it as the correct idea or the correct approach. It's so much better to believe that there will be an eternal future, or not an eternal one. Once in between those polarities, both things end up in the same result. Nothing ever happens. If there is no time at all, there is no need to do anything. And if there is infinite time, there is also no need to do anything because there is more, still infinite time to do things at a later moment in life. So it's just a concept of properly doing things in regards to those objects that we like, the people that we find enjoyable, the things that we say that we wanna act on. The issue itself, I guess, is being capable of understanding why we should try to do them, why we should try to dedicate ourselves to that. I mean, that's something that also I do not like. In many ways, we like to talk about that. We like to talk about, yeah, the loss and the grief and the mourning and the process of being melancholic and the process of going through the pain and accepting, integrating, being capable of processing, blah, blah. Okay, what is the part in which we can properly point out at the very least? Yeah, and indeed, the human being needs to be capable of understanding stuff. We need to see why are we doing the things that we are doing. Why do we want to have something like that next to us? Why do we want to have other people around us? Why do we show up for them? Why do we try to act in certain ways? Why is it that we move ourselves in certain directions through certain actions, motions of life? What are our plans? What is it that we do every single day? What is the traditions that we carry? It's unavoidable. It is a long process, but it's part of integrating that onto life, I guess, that you need to just try to give yourself time to process how it works in general, in any kind of sense. What I said before, not just that, the disappearance of what is alive, but non existence, the loss of everything that now is, the non existence of what is the security that we get to feel in our current times, the non existence of those systems, of those families, of those places of comfort, of those auras that we can get some days from doing the things that we like, those intangible objects that exist around the world that are in no way measurable to any degree, but that we get to experience by simply doing the things that we like, being the person that we are right now. Those parts are not discussed, and I do not like the whole discussion about loss and whatnot, because oh yeah, what parts when somebody parts, when you lose something, when something is gone, the whole degree of consequences that brings now having to deal more with yourself than you had to before, because you are realizing that this thing, this person, this anything meant something for you, yeah, okay, true. But at the same time, there is also the whole other realm of, and also I had so many other wonderful things inside of that. I had so many other sensations inside of that I will never get to have again. It's not a loss of that, and that's, yeah, una word. Tiny clarification. I'm not. You read about that stuff, and you will find it in one of the descriptions as repetitions, something along those lines. I guess. I guess at this point it comes in handy to say, yeah, some intellectuals fail at being proper intellectuals because they cannot cite their sources. I think it was fucking Freud who said something along the lines of the moment in which the human loses their actual object of desire, they are faced with the question of finding a new one that resembles the last one they had in order to keep feeding that same pattern of desire and to keep on that urge, that primal urge, quote unquote, alive, that driving force alive, sorry, that was the word. And in that sense, I am not talking about, oh yeah, we have voids that we must fill with very similar things. No, I'm just talking about the other side of, yeah, we lose things, they create emptiness, and unavoidably, we get to be a little bit less, but at the same time, it's not necessary to try and compare so much in some ways. That's what I feel like is missing in this whole discussion also. How we need to make things different. I do not want I not that I do not want. I do not think it's healthy to talk about people as if they were something irreplaceable. I have met and I have lost people who were wonderful, and I do not need to tell myself that other people, yeah, I will find a replacement for them. What kind of stupid vision am I having out the world in which it is a sensible thing to say, yeah, you know what, I will replace somebody that meant anything to me? In which moment am I realizing that, yeah, the things that I had played a role in my life and now I need to replace them with something similar? How much do I truly care about the things that I have around myself if everything that I can do is just the moment in which something that I used to have breaks and I need to replace it with something similar that fills the same function? Am I truly in any way capable of enjoying my life if I never get to have anything besides the set of things that I can always replace with other similar things? What am I appreciating supposedly if I cannot even realize that, yeah, there are some qualities, there were some moments, memories, there were so many things that I can't gain back no matter what I try to do with others. There are some things that I cannot have no matter what I try to do, no matter how many more objects I try to get, no matter how much money I spend, no matter which kind of project I try to follow. There are just some things that are not capable of being obtained in any other field, and that's fine. That's alive. That's the grace of being alive. If every single thing I needed to repeat the same things, we wouldn't be here. That's, I mean, yeah, to some degree. Next conclusion, probably that's one of the many consequences of language itself. We do not live through that whole repetition of everything. We do not get to be contempt by just having the same four things said over and over and over and over. We are not like that. We do not move ourselves for those things, because of those things. thanks to those things. We have principles, we have rules, we have all of those guiding lines, yeah, but we do not constantly talk about them in such ways. And even more when it is necessary, we are capable of restructuring those things. It's not a completely closed design and nothing else. It's reductionist to talk about, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We have to experience loss, we have to experience uh, the non-existence of something that used to be what we like so much. Now it's time to find the replacement of it. Now it's time to give ourselves time to process that it has disappeared and completely move on. Yeah, you in unhealthy view. To some degree, you cannot move on, man. To some degree, the memory of something cannot die within you. I don't think so. Doesn't mean that you don't get to live your life because you have to carry all the pain. That's not what I said. I was talking just about the memories of things. If we have anything at all that is worth mentioning in all of this, is the capacity to remember what is already gone in any capacity. And thank God I can do that and I can bring back at least the feelings that I had for a moment when I had certain experiences, when I was around certain people, when I was doing certain things, when I had certain things in my hands, when I was in certain moments of my life, whatever it was, I can bring it back at least through my memory. I don't need to say goodbye to them. That's one of the fundamental things. What is in many ways repressed trauma? Things that you avoid thinking about, things that you don't believe you should consciously visit. What are we going to do? Traumatize ourselves just to try and avoid what seems to be a loss? What? It's completely irrational to talk about those ways, about those things. Anyway, I have that's part of it. And now I can continue with the other part of this. Actions of importance. What matters? What can be done that matters for those things? What could make anything that we experience feel better could be tried? I think it's not such a complicated question on one hand. It's just properly enjoying it, having some degree. I like it because it is still just, in some ways, unintelligible to say hope. To just have hope on things is the way in which you get to enjoy them. To have interest on the stuff is the way in which we get to enjoy those particular things. But at the same time, it doesn't really mean anything. What does it mean to have hope at all? Do I have hope that I will be alive tomorrow? Do I have hope that I will be alive in 10 years? Do I have hope that I will somehow find an eternal life in this life? What is hope? How can I properly measure hope? How can I know that the type of hope that I am having for the objects that I am trying to affiliate myself to is the proper kind of hope? How can I be sure that I'm being hopeful enough? How can I see it in a good way? And how can I talk about hope in a way in which I see that I have it and I understand that hope is something that I can also share with someone else? It's complicated. It's in many ways just a process of, I guess, convincing oneself that yeah, I am now in the state in which I possess enough hope to feel good about things. I can now be sure that maybe there will be a future, and perhaps things will be different, if not directly better, than what they are right now, with the things that I have around myself and with the things that I want to keep having in the future, in that say the future, that I can see become even better in the future. That sort of thing is what's useful, but it's complicated. It doesn't truly solve the issue of the loss of anything, but at the same time, it's that side of tomorrow I have to deal with the loss of something that I liked. Will I be happy if I lived my last day with them like it was literally the last one? Will I find any kind of consolation knowing that I just assumed that I were going to live? I will not truly be that happy, that fulfilled with myself. The moment in which I just, oh yeah, you know what, my dear friend, tomorrow we are going to fucking die. Why don't we spend the last day completely? It's so much better to have tried everything else, to have believed that there was going to be a tomorrow, even if it never came. Yeah, to some degree, it is a sort of stupid, unnecessary lie. I don't know, man. Everything, every single thing seems to be to some degree a lie. How can we be sure that the norms that we have within society are the proper ones? And we are going to assume now that the way in which we treat something like death and yeah, okay, lying to ourselves, is it at that point that bad? I will not find fulfillment in knowing that I departed with something without even trying to make that other thing be as good as it could be, to make the other person as happy as they could be. I do not find it in me to say, yeah, you know what, it was the last day and we wasted it all away. I lie more saying that than having lived through the day itself like it was a lie. That's the sort of thing that's complicated and that's just a mystery to some degree, but such is world, I guess. Such is the world, I guess. Unavoidably such. Unavoidably as such. But whatever. It's, in general, it's complicated. And yeah, I don't know. It's, that has been, I guess, most of what has happened recently. I think that was a very funny encounter with something that I wasn't expecting myself. I guess unavoidably, since even if I myself am not having the need to go through it, having people around me who experiences such a stuff allows me to still find it necessary to try and process such things. So it's a wonderful thing to have that opportunity even more, I guess. Certainly it's sort of what's I don't know, maybe wrong word, maybe, but we are not here because we use language in the most exact manner. Maybe a little bit neurotic, but at least I don't have to experience the loss myself. I can learn a little bit about it more. I can give myself the possibility of thinking about such things without having to suffer through it. And yeah, I can say it. I mean, it would be unreasonable to not be capable of recognizing, yeah. And to some degree, if I never tried to think about That if I never tried to make peace with it, with something that is necessary for life to exist also, I will not be capable of sitting here. It will still be a phase of being alive that, yeah, maybe tomorrow I will die. Maybe tomorrow I will part ways with the world. Maybe there will be no tomorrow for me. That's overwhelming. If you have never tried to properly stop and think about it, that's overwhelming because out of nowhere you realize, yeah, maybe I am mortal just like everything else that I have known. But that's the process of being alive, that you can properly say goodbye to things before they leave you. Exactly. When you see them go, I guess. But I don't know. It's supposedly that's also something that I always think about. That is not such a nice thing to talk about because it's too embedded in rituals. We have too many ceremonies, we have too many processes, too many things, too many ways in which we can frame it as different things than just parting ways with something, than more than just losing something. So it becomes more complicated once we get into the general discussion and anything else that exists within that. So, better to move on with. And what's next? Nice question. No idea. The next thing exactly right now is water. Okay. Good. Good evening. Welcome. Today, what's next? Um, this one came after thinking for a little bit. It's I have not properly articulated it yet. I will probably try to find a more correct way to say it. I guess, as always, this is not my idea, so I cannot. Sorry for not being capable of giving every single source that I used for the things that I say here, but I'm pretty sure at some point I talked about it with someone else. I heard it from someone else, explained similarly to what I'm going to talk about here, because what I can start with is there is a very interesting concept in Freud, in what I talked before of, wow, yeah, um, the human driving forces, they have either the driving force to the thing or the complete opposite resection force to the thing that they do not want, in a way in which they associate with things, with any kind of object of desire of in the world. That's the basic premise. You might either approach or completely reject the things that you think about, that you're presented with. Okay, that's the basic premise. What reality also reveals is, sadly, language allows for something very funny. The deformation of language allows for things to not become so linear. The moment in which you can transform things enough to twist them into what fits the best your views, you can change how you approach anything so that it stops being something. The biggest issue is not if you are going to approach it or completely reject it, is it rather becomes how you are willing to try and approach everything, as long as it does not hurt you. Because that's That's the main expression of, oh yeah, I can see this thing that happened before, and I do not want anything that like that. So I will do my best effort to approach the complete absence of this thing. I will do my best effort, the best of my efforts to have no similar thing like that one suffering creating one that I used to have before. So, in the end, it becomes a more complicated discussion, as I was trying to say, when you get to realize I can transform everything into what makes me be heartless. And it's complicated at that point because language is wonderful. It's certainly literally the tool that we can use all to communicate within one another. The different ways in which we get to share anything is not without language, but it also has the issue of I can try to approach things through as many linguistic optics as I can envision myself. So if instead of saying that I will approach or not or completely reject something, I will make sure that said thing is something that gets to exist the most in the world. I am still in some way not saying it in any of the previous statements. I am creating a sort of third option that I myself conceive as a third option, but which isn't really different from anything else. I am just associating myself with what is my possibilities in a way in which I am not being hard and in a way in which I am not finding myself annoyed. This is, I guess, a psychoanalytic concept. You need to experience psychoanalysis yourself to understand what's the theoretical part of the thing, of the whole theory trying to talk about itself. Because only the moment in which you can shut within yourself which ways of transforming language you are utilizing to make less apparent that you are affiliating to things in ways in which you're just basically that getting to move or to obey the stuff is the moment in which you get to understand it properly. If not, if that thing does not happen, suddenly the theory just lies there, dead by itself, because it's not a body that has all its functions working. It needs the action as the igniting force to demonstrate how the body is capable of working. If not, it's like, let's say like this, it's like a heart without a beat. You need the beat instead of the heart to be capable of continuing through any kind of rhythm. The same thing happens here. Only through the analysis of oneself it becomes possible, I guess, to realize, yeah. And indeed, I also am transfigurating, transforming, changing what I do, how I move myself towards things. I this is even more complex, sadly, but there is also this another concept called desiring machines and machines of desire. I think it is something like that. Two very similar names, different things. How we are given things that we might affiliate ourselves with, and how we can also find things that generate all of those other things that we could move or avoid. or that we could in general just take and consider, let's say. The issue is when those things become existent, it also becomes a possibility for us to try and interact with them in ways in which our direct conscious judgment is not aware of, let's say. We can believe that we are capable of avoiding things. We can say to ourselves that we are not doing what we seem to be capable of avoiding just because the way in which we have framed it allows for us to not make it look like we're actually approaching it. Let's say it like this. Let me find an example. It's at this point everything has become, oh yeah, the thing, and desire and approach and not approach and rejection. Let me find a fucking example before I lose it. Uh, with the semantics of all of this. I think this will. I think this one is somewhat a sensible one. If the way in which I am told that food works in my house makes me believe that anything related to a bakery is bad, and I decide to follow the teachings that I was given since a child, consciously, I can justify it always later on. Whenever I even end up deciding on something along the lines of, yeah, and I might decide to create my own bakery just to show everyone else that indeed baking is not as unhealthy as it used to be. It's possibly cool to be. I don't. However, we decide to frame it as, the point is, are we actually moving away from it, or are we just transforming how we say it in order to not make ourselves feel bad about our decisions? We are justifying the actions that we take through the lens that we use to judge the actions that we ourselves are choosing to, to, to perform. It's the self perceived bias that allows us to not realize that indeed we're just contradicting what we were told to some degree, even if we're not directly consuming anything from a bakery, we're literally becoming part of one. We're continuing this dangerous industry. We are moving ourselves in accordance to what seemed to be such a dangerous thing in our house, what seemed to be the most prohibited thing. For example, another example, now that I can properly think about them, something that happens in it gets more complicated because it happens in many ways, in many planes of existence. So, since we are children, we get to hear that something like internet is bad, that the open internet is a dangerous place. What we do when we grow up, maybe if we still avoid it, we decide at some point in our adult lives not just to research it, but to try and show everyone else why it might be a bad decision to have anything like internet. We're just following what came before us, what was given to us as a possibility, and we're just expanding on that to some degree, but we're not moving that far away. The issue is being capable of realizing how we have transformed the same thing that we were told before, how we are manipulating the message that we were given in order to make it seem like something else entirely, and justifying it as something that is our own decision or different decision, when in reality it is all just the same thing. there are many more examples. Through an action of judgment, I will rather abstain from mentioning them. But yeah, there is even that personal judgment that I was realizing. The one that allowed me to understand this idea finally was the one that allowed me to get here, basically, in this case. But in some cases, some truths are better unexplained. Some personal revelations do not need to be shared with everyone else, let's say like that. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. Moving on. Moving on. That's that, I guess. Now, what's next? The next part, I think, is me directly falling asleep. I am tired. That's what should happen next. But I don't know. It's also like incredibly early. I will probably find a way in which I can justify staying up somehow, even if I know that I should go to bed, and even if I say yeah, and that's it for today, folks. Thanks for all. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't trust myself with that. Or maybe, you know what? I no, yeah. Wait. I was forgetting about something interesting. Hey, tomorrow I have an exam. I did should go to bed, and I got to tire myself out through this. So yeah, tomorrow I should be studying for tomorrow. What I said, I have a responsibility. One of them is actually studying. So yeah, what I want to see. I am going to say right now that I am going to study, that I am going to retire, rest, and whatever else I should do. If I do it or not is a completely different topic. I will not trust myself with that, but we we have the right to have a faith in our own words. So yeah, I guess that's it. I guess assuming implying implying that's the end. So yeah, thanks for it. Have a wonderful night, guys. Goodbye. Also, yeah, I reached for the mouse, which is disconnected. Brother, have you ever done a soda stream?